I always say to people that we never had a dry session. We'd always come in and we never went away from the session going, couldn't get it today. We always finished, which is pretty remarkable in my brain. I think the difference between me and a lot of people is they don't remember it. We were kind of showing each other, and this was one I said to him, well, I got this idea, and I started off with it, and we finished it together. Having a collaborator, one thing's great, if you get stuck with something, you can just say, what do you think of this? You know, and you can kick it around together. And we kind of looked at each other. Most of it was start from scratch, but sometimes one of us would just have an idea and then we'd just sit down and work it. But a lot of it we just came in and just started, and then we just sit down. They were pretty quick sessions. It was normally like about 3 hours, and we'd finish something, you know, from beginning to end. Lots more. And you do forget them, yeah. And that is my excuse. I was showing the guys, so we were sitting around thinking. And George Harrison just went, what about this? We just came up with it. So that was the kind of pace we worked at. And it'd be me and John would know, but George and Ringo and the producer wouldn't know what we were. So we'd say, oh, it goes like this, you know, and we'd show them. And in the space of about 20 minutes, they'd go, okay. And then we just... So it was a very fast process. When I was really little, there were a lot of old ladies, and I enjoyed sitting around with these older ladies because they had these great stories in this case about World War II, you know. And one in particular who I used to kind of just visit, and I'd kind of go shopping for her, you know, she couldn't get out. So anyway, so I remember her. So I had that figure in my mind of a sort of lonely old lady. And over the years, I'd met a couple of others, and then I added in the priest, the vicar. But when I came to finish it up with John, I brought it to John, and we were playing it around. And I said, I don't want to call this Father McCartney because it's like my dad. It just is a bit confusing. And he said, no, it's fine. So I said, no, I don't like it. That's better. Sometimes I do that, you know, just to block it out. So you don't spend forever, and you just leave it for like that, and then you go, I don't really like that. So I thought, oh, great. John had started, and this often happened. One of us would have a little bit of an idea, and instead of sitting down and sweating it, we just bring it to the other one and kind of finish it together, because then you could ping pong. You know, you get an idea, then he get an idea, and oh, that's good. You know. We sat in my music room in London and just started playing around with it. And then we got to what was going to lead into the middle, and we kind of looked at each other and kind of knew we were being a little bit kind of edgy. It worked. And then did that crescendo thing in the middle of it. Crazy ideas. And I came up with this idea. I said to the orchestra, you should start, all of you, which they're all looking at me puzzled. We've got a real symphony orchestra, and here's me, so this crazy guy out of a group. And I'm saying, all you got to do is everyone start on the lowest and work your way up to the highest at your own pace. Just if you want to go, that's fine. Or, you know, that was too puzzling for them. And they're all looking at me, and orchestras don't like that kind of thing. They like it written down, and they like to know exactly what they're supposed to do. I was thinking about the boy whose name's Julian, and then actually I nearly got into trouble because we put it up on a window so that people going by on the buses would see, what's that? You know, intriguing. Well, I got this furious phone call from this guy, and he said, what are you doing? How dare you do this? And so, because in Hitler's day, in the Nazi thing, I said, no, wait a minute. I swear to you, it's nothing like that. He said, I'm going to send my son around to beat you up. I said, hey, baby, let's cool it down. Nothing to do with that. And it's all cool, you know, firsthand probably. Anyway, I calmed him down, and he was cool. And his son didn't come around to beat me up, because it is such fun. And it's great handing that over to the audience, you know. And you know what the greatest thing is? You feel this sense of community. And in these times when it's a little dark and people are sort of separated, it's so fantastic just to see them all come together. So I'm very happy about that. So I keep it in the show. We've just made the dirtiest, loudest, filthiest, dirtier and filthier and louder. When I look back on what we produced, but we were young guys and we would have got bored doing that. And the worst thing ever would have been just to sit around bored. So we always changed whatever we were about to do and did something different. And we did that. And yeah, it is pretty raw. You know, it's pretty screamy. So it was hard on Ringo. And right at the end he says, "I got blisters on my fingers." Oh, baby. That's one of the joys being in a band. And it's such a sort of cool feeling that I could see why you'd form a group based around that idea. So I'm very proud of the fact that the Beatles' output is always really pretty positive. And there's hardly anything in there that sort of says, go and screw your parents or whatever. You know, it's always pretty, I particularly like that. Oh, yeah, it's not just me alone going through this. You know, I'd been overdoing it. You know, it was the 60s and we were just getting crazed and stuff a lot of the time. And so I went to bed and wasn't feeling too great inside in myself. My mother came in and she died. You're with them. And your mind doesn't say, wait a minute, you shouldn't be here. You're just with them. And so it was really nice, you know, because there's my mom, and oh, Mom, you know, very emotional. And she seemed to realize, this is all going on in my mind, of course, but, you know, forget that. She seemed to realize that I was going through struggles. And she said, it's going to be okay. It's all really going to be okay. She said, just let it be. I went, and felt great. And I think that's why a lot of people like it. They feel somehow that kind of magic comes through. It's not like a formula. It's just what you fancy at the time. And, you know, a lot of people were getting high. Now, I must admit, it can get a little bit embarrassing because I've got grandkids. A little bit of a disclaimer there, you know. But at the time, it was just about the times. But it goes down well. And one of my guys sort of rang me up and said, hey, you know, we've got a problem. What? Who did what and who liked who? And I remember well some of the things we did. Yeah, it was really for me thinking about John and just thinking, you know what, we had a great relationship. And like any family, there's always arguments, there's always disputes, but in the end, you know, we loved each other. Again, it's quite emotional, you know, because it came from a real feeling about him. And there are some photos from that period which are really beautiful. And there's just him and me working, and you can see we loved each other. And we happened to have a little pony. And I just kind of find myself a place which is in the middle of nature, and just sat there and just started about me and my father-in-law, you know, early days of getting married, and when your father-in-law is kind of a nuisance, and you kind of, hey, so you kind of work your things out. Yeah, Lagos, come on. So we had to explain to them, you take some wood and you do this and you get some glass and you put it in like that. But it was kind of nice. I liked the primitive aspect of it. Was pretty interesting experience. If you've got 3 hours, I'll tell you about it. It's much more angst-ridden. People are going to think I'm desperate. But you go, no, people like that. I like that. You can often take a moment you remember where you had, like, let's say, an argument, and you think of that situation, and you work it out. I don't think I can take any more. That makes you feel better. And you suddenly, oh. So you kind of work your things out. It's almost like a therapy.